Make sense? So that would be a helpful way to sketch it. Another thing is, like in my bedroom, my bed is kind of like in the middle of quadrant 1, quadrant 2, and so I would probably switch that around, so that way, or like scoot my bed over so that would be in one quadrant, just to make it a little bit more organized, because you don't want to talk about half your bed in this one, half your bed in that one. So okay, so yeah, like I said, it would help if you draw a sketch of it, blah blah blah. So after pre-writing, okay, step 2 of the writing process is going to be our D. D is for drafting. Okay, so when we draft, I am a huge stickler in drafting. When I tell my kids to draft, I tell them just write. Okay, we're not worried about spelling. We're not worried about things like that. We are just going to write. That is what revising and editing are for, is to go back and fix that. But right now, when you're drafting, you're just putting all those ideas into paragraph form. Okay, so you want to take the time to just write your ideas on paper, okay? Because sometimes when you start writing, it flows. If you think about like, oh, I need to change this word because I don't like this word, then you're going to stop your flow of writing, okay? So, and then you'll get writer's block. So make sure you just write, and then we can go back in and fix all those things. So for drafting, I want to talk about how many paragraphs and stuff we're going to have. So once you've gathered all your ideas, you're going to start drafting one step at a time. So make sure you have a solid intro, body, and conclusion. Okay, I'm sure you've heard those terms before. So real fast, your introduction. Okay, you have 3 big things that you want in your introduction. Okay, you want your hook. Okay, so your first sentence is your hook. So remember that. Maybe I should write that down. Okay, when I think of hook, I always think of going fishing, which is something that people can do, I think, still. So your hook is first. Okay, you want your hook. This is a very important vocabulary word, you guys. So some people call your hook your lead. Okay, so I've heard teachers say it both ways before, so just whatever you're familiar with. Why I call it a hook, you can call it a lead, like it leads in. But why I call it a hook is because it is hooking the reader's attention. Okay, so you can't just be like, this is the start of my essay, blah, 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 blah. I always love reading essays that are like, hi, today I'm going to talk about blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that's kind of boring. We need to fix that up a little bit. Okay, so focus is to grab the reader's attention. Okay, we are sitting in quarantine in 2020. Okay, let's make it fun. When you do hook, okay, a couple things that I always think about is different types of hook. You can have a bold opinion or a bold statement. So, for instance, we could be like, this quarantine is the worst thing that has ever happened to me, period. Okay, that's a bold opinion. People want to read on. Like, why is this the worst thing that's ever happened to you? I've been stuck in this room for blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then you can go from there, and then you're going to explain your room. So you can have a bold opinion. You can have a fact. I've been in quarantine since March 16th of 2020, period. Like, something like that. Okay, that is a fact, because I think that's when we all kind of went into quarantine, or it might have been a little earlier than that. But that is a fact. Like, have a fact. Have a fact about the coronavirus or something that has pulled your way. If you're going to write about, like, a place that you like to go, write a fact about it, okay? Again, it's just kind of fun to bring in the coronavirus, but you do not have to write about things like that, okay? It's kind of hectic to talk about, and some people are really struggling with it, so if you don't want to write about anything to do with the coronavirus, that's totally fine. I'm just trying to, like, you know, improvise and make it fun about where we're at in life right now. So, sentence number 1 in your essay is going to be your hook. So hook your reader's attention. Another thing that I say, aside from bold opinion and fun fact, is ask a question. Okay, so where are you quarantined? What's your quarantine situation? What bedroom have you been staying in? Stuff like that. I always tell my students to stray away from asking a question, because sometimes it doesn't pull the reader in. It's just like, whatever. But sometimes it does. So whatever you guys think, you just want to hook the reader's attention. That's our most important thing about the hook. Okay, so you have your hook and your intro. Excuse me. And then you are going to do a thesis statement. So when you have a thesis statement, what that is the main topic sentence for your essay. Okay, so anything that's in your thesis statement needs to be the whole essay. What I mean by that is when you have a main sentence of a paragraph, it's talking about everything in that paragraph. When you have a main sentence for an essay, it's going to talk about everything in that essay. So, for instance, our thesis could be all similar. Like, my room can be split into 4 quadrants, period. Okay, something like that. Or you can label the quadrants, okay? So your thesis is just that main sentence. So you're going to talk about the 4 quadrants of whatever spot you're talking about. So your thesis has to have something to do with those things. After your thesis, so I always teach my students that like your introduction is a little shorter than your body paragraphs, okay? Which is usually true because you don't want to have too much information in your introduction because that's what your body paragraphs are for. So if we're talking about our intro, we have our hook, we have our thesis, and then I always have them write something to pull in the details from some of the supporting details. Okay, so when we're reading and writing nonfiction, you have your main idea, and then you have supporting details. Which in this case, our main idea is going to be what quadrant it is. So you're going to want to make sure you keep it labeled, and then the points are going to be your supporting details of each quadrant. So hope that makes sense. But yeah, so we're still drafting. We're working with drafting each paragraph. So again, you have your introduction, and then you're going to have 4 body paragraphs, okay? Because we have 4 quadrants, so we're going to be working with 4 body paragraphs. So for your body paragraphs, you're going to split the 4 quadrants up into a paragraph apiece. Now, if you want it to make it a little easier, if you like say you have a small bedroom or a small space that you're writing about, what you could do is you could put these 2 quadrants together and these 2 quadrants together and make it a little simpler. So you could do the north half of my bedroom and the south half of my bedroom, or something like that. And so that would be quadrant 1 and quadrant 2. So in each paragraph, again, you're going to have those 5 points. That gives you like at least 5 sentences, okay? 5 sentences is the bare minimum that I allow my students for a paragraph, okay? If you have 5 sentences, that's still not very much detail. And where this is a descriptive essay, you're going to want to keep going with that. Fun thing, if you can't figure out different points to put in here, things that you can talk about, you guys. You can talk about carpet, you can talk about carpet color, carpet fabric, like what's your carpet like? Is it like that shaggy carpet? Is it a light carpet? What's it like? Okay. Or you can do paint, like these walls are crazy. Okay, you could do like, oh, my room's painted like blue with bright pink chevron or something like that. Okay, so it's kind of up to you, but there are little things that you can find details with. Another thing I think of when I'm writing about my bedroom is there are 30 pairs of shoes over there. Not really, but like it seems like it sometimes. So, you know, what's on the floor? Is your dog over there? Etc., etc. So make sure, and then next, after you kind of finish your body paragraphs, you guys, we want to have transitions, okay? So a lot of times we forget about transitioning, and you want to have transitions because that makes your paragraphs and your essay altogether a little bit more organized, okay? So when you have all these, okay, working with transitions, again, it's a spatial essay, so when you're writing a spatial essay, some transitions that you might use are descriptive transitions. So like if I said, hey, in quadrant number 1, my bed is in the far right corner, or far north corner. Okay, great, far northeast corner, I guess I should say. Next to my bed, so next to would be your transition there. So when you do that, that's a good kind of way to keep it like that. So next to, on the other side of, in the opposite corner, stuff like that. Those are like transitions you would use with descriptive writing. Next. Like again, transitions are so important that you want to have transitions because that makes your writing even better because it's more organized and more to the point. So really focus on labeling these quadrants as well. I know I can't stress that enough because you might get confused sometimes. So quadrant number 1 is my northeast quadrant. Okay, so quadrant 1 equals northeast quadrant. You want to make sure you have those things. Quadrant 2 is blah 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 blah. This helps you like stay organized and stay focused. So when you have main point of each paragraph, it's gonna help you stay focused. Okay, so when you're done with your body paragraph, okay, you have your intro, you have your 4 body paragraphs, and then you have your conclusion. Okay, so I've always found it a little bit hard with a conclusion because when you have a conclusion, it's like you're restating a lot of stuff that you've already talked about. So in your conclusion, you just want to summarize your main points. So like my bedroom has 4 different quadrants, blah, blah, blah. So you want to summarize those main points, and then that can be like split up into 2 or more sentences, okay? So like talk about the main things that are in your room in each quadrant, and then you're going to restate your thesis statement. So when I say restate your thesis, I mean you're just going to talk about your thesis again. You're just going to reword it. So, big thing, you guys, when I have my students draft, I encourage just write, because we have not reached those other steps of the writing process yet. And so drafting is where you're focused on just writing, okay? So again, you have your steps of the writing process. We have gone through pre-writing, and we're going through drafting. So this is what your pre-writing should look like. Let me turn the screen around if I can. I don't think I can actually. So I'll show you these things after I'm done teaching the lesson. So pre-writing and drafting are already covered.